And welcome to Championship Week, NFL Week 17, here with the Fantasy Football Show, Ranking Show. Trevor Lane in the middle, Luke Reimer on the right. I am Zach Bruner. We are here to go over the Fantasy Football rankings one more time this season, comparing it to the expert consensus, my rankings, which are found on flurrysports.org, in half PPR. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching wherever, definitely leave questions and we'll answer them. I assume we will be talking less about that bottom few tiers of players, just because I don't think you will be starting them if you're playing for anything meaningful, unless there's something specific, like I dislike a player or one of us dislikes a player, then we'll talk about it. But if we're not talking about a player you want to know about, definitely drop a question. We will cover that. But we'll start with quarterbacks here. I have Josh Allen as my top quarterback this week, playing the Falcons at home. I have Patrick Mahomes number 2 at the Bengals, Tom Brady number 3 at the Jets, Aaron Rodgers on Sunday Night Football versus the Vikings at 4, and then Jalen Hurts at 5 at Washington. Trevor, what do you think of those 5 quarterbacks?
It's hard to argue. We saw what Herbert did last week against a horrible Houston defense, and this week he plays Denver. You know, the problems with Stafford are obvious. Lamar against the Rams. With all the question marks, these really kind of only are the top 5 that you can have, even though I'm not a huge fan of Hurts against Washington.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know that I think I agree with you, Trevor. I don't know that I'm a huge fan of Jalen Hurts. Patrick Mahomes, I think maybe I would move him to number 1. I don't know what you guys think, but I think the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL right now. I mean, they're playing the best football. And I think that all rides on Patrick Mahomes. Maybe this is a game where it's kind of, take it off a little bit. Although they do play Cincinnati, Cincinnati's vying for that playoff spot. Cincinnati's going to give it a full go. So I'd imagine Cincinnati's going to put up points, which means Chiefs have to put up points to win. And I don't know how many other quarterbacks you want rather than Patrick Mahomes to put up points.
That's fair. And I don't think they will do this. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire is most likely out. I don't think he's been officially ruled out yet, but he's probably out. So it's going to be Darrell Williams and Derek Gore kind of combining there, two-headed rushing attack. I don't think the Chiefs would change anything about their run-pass split. But if they change anything at all, I would assume, be to lean heavier on the pass, to your guys' point. And if you're a believer in the Bengals whatsoever, then the Chiefs have to pass, right? I think there's going to be some points scored in this game at least.
Yeah, just kind of going off of that. Like the Chiefs were without Clyde in the middle of the year. I mean, that's when the Chiefs were kind of on their down streak, kind of got back in their upswing a little bit. So they know how to play without him. I mean, they finally figured out what wasn't working in the regular season or in the middle of the season when they were playing so shitty. So I would not imagine really anything changes or nothing should change.
No, they get Travis Kelce back this week too, and
right.
That does change things for the better. To your guys' point about that being sort of the default top 5, at least in terms of those players, yeah, there's a lot of question marks once you get past Jalen Hurts. At least Jalen Hurts has that rushing floor to help him out. Justin Herbert, Chargers coaches are absolute trash. Herbert's a good talent. He won't have Mike Williams apparently. They already ruled him out for this game because he's on the COVID list. Honestly, I think Brandon Staley used analytics to make that judgment call already. Mm-hmm. It's kind of unbelievable. I'm not sure why he did that. Matthew Stafford, to your point, should Stafford destroy the Ravens after seeing what Joe Burrow did to him? Yes. Will he? Who knows? Lamar Jackson, you're welcome to everyone who watched the show last week who found out that Jackson wasn't playing a little bit early. I like dropping nuggets like that. Like, that was pretty convincing. He's back in practice today. I think he's going to play no matter what happens. That's kind of the indication I'm getting there, but he is nowhere near 100%. And again, it's one of those things, I don't want Lamar Jackson less than 100%, because if he's slowed down at all, I just don't trust his arm. So, I don't know why I would want him. I could see him going much lower for me than number 8 right now. I just don't trust anybody under him either. So I think there's a firm cutoff. 7 and above I'm cool with. even Justin Herbert, I think he's going to utilize Austin Eckler a lot this week. But after that, I'm not sure. Luke, Trevor, what's your guys' thoughts on Lamar Jackson? Assuming he does give it a go, what's your confidence level starting him?
I mean, I'm with you, right? Because Lamar Jackson gets so many points in fantasy because he rushes the ball 15 times a game. He gets 90 to 100 yards a game. It feels like he's going to score a touchdown. I mean, without that, you're talking, 12 to 15 points maybe? I mean, is that good enough for your championship team, a game that you need to win? No. I mean, Baltimore has to win this game, right? They're quickly falling out of the playoffs here, which makes me think that Lamar Jackson is going to play. I almost wonder if Lamar Jackson playing is going to be a little decoy to get the running backs going a little bit, because their running situation hasn't been great. I know it's kind of easy to key in on that a little bit without Lamar Jackson, but just the presence of Lamar Jackson out there should open up other things on the offense. So Zach, yeah, I agree with you. I'm not too confident in Lamar Jackson. If you want 12 points, sure, put him in. But I think there are better value options that you could take a big risk on to win a lot of money in your fantasy football championship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to put money on anybody against the Rams, especially coming back from injury, especially a guy who passes as inefficiently as him, especially a guy who can't read a defense to save his life. So I'm off him. I'd put Prescott, even as unreliable as he has been. I'd put him over Lamar for that reason.
That's fair. And also, on top of his rushing production with his legs, his offensive line isn't that great in pass protection. You see him, those big plays downfield, he's almost always running around like a moron, and then he finds somebody. If the Rams can just come at him, if Von Miller and Aaron Donald can just rush him, and they don't have that massive risk of Lamar Jackson getting outside the pocket, it just hurts things that much more. I'm not a massive believer in this Rams defense, but I know they can rush the passer. And if you can't get out of the way, then that definitely hurts.
Shout out to me for having Lamar Jackson in 7 out of 11 leagues.
I feel you. I luckily only have him in the leagues I care about, so it's even better. Other players here. This is an interesting one for me. He's ranked a lot lower than Lamar Jackson. I think both need to move a little bit. But what would you do if you had Tua Tagovailoa and Lamar Jackson, and you're hearing Lamar Jackson's limited all week, he ends up starting, he's definitely hobbled? Would you rather play Tua against the Titans, who definitely have horrible corners, or would you rather play a 85-90% Lamar Jackson?
I'm almost leaning towards Lamar Jackson, just because I know it's going to be weird to say, but just because he has better weapons than Tua. Mark Andrews has turned it on here. Rashad Bateman's looking like, that first round pick. And plus, Marquise Brown is going to take two guys away, a corner and a safety, running straight the whole time. So I think there are going to be guys open for Lamar Jackson to throw to. I think much more than Tua. The only question is if he's going to hit him. And that's the risk you're willing to take. Lamar Jackson led the league in touchdown passes 2 years ago. Obviously that, hasn't translated these last 2 years. But if he can hit guys that are open, I can see him getting, that productive day more than Tua.
For me, I got to ride the hot hand. I got to go Tua. 100% Baltimore has better weapons, but I don't trust Lamar to find them, right? We saw what happened with Andrews when when Lamar left. And obviously he's just one guy, but for me, I'm always kind of ride the hot hand type of guy. So I got to go Tua, even though ability wise, I don't think anybody here thinks he's even close to Lamar Jackson when both are at 100%.
The thing is, too, we saw what the Dolphins did to Lamar Jackson, right? And just blitz him. There's guys running wide open in the middle of the field, and Lamar just couldn't find him. I don't know why the Rams just don't blitz every single play of this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make him beat you. Make him prove that he can beat you at this point. I think I would go with Lamar Jackson. I guess it depends on what we've seen here throughout the week. There's a reason why I do rank him that high. I'm just really not sold on this Rams defense, to be completely honest. But I think that is a close decision between those two that I think is interesting. Compared to the consensus, I am 3 higher on Lamar Jackson. Again, this ranking means absolutely nothing right now. But the consensus does have him at 11. I'm 5 higher on Taylor Heineke, I guess. I have him at 20. Consensus is at 25. He plays Philadelphia this week. Okay. So, like, the consensus, I would assume, I guess, has him above Ben Roethlisberger, Davis Mills, Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield. And I'm just not going to do that. Carson Wentz, I have at 23, which is also 5 spots higher than the consensus. So the consensus has him at 28. Obviously, he's on the COVID list right now, so I think that ranking means pretty much nothing. I'm confused what the COVID rules are because they talked about passing something, then they did pass something else, and I don't think the two rules discussed are the same thing. So I'm not sure if the days they need to be out is 5 now, or if it's longer than that. If it's 5, Carson Wentz should be able to play this week, assuming he tests negative. I don't know, man. I hope you don't have to rely on Carson Wentz, I guess. I guess that's the big takeaway.
Right.
Matthew Stafford, who I have at 7, is 3 spots higher, or lower, rather, than the consensus. So the consensus has him number 4 overall against Baltimore. And I guess people are just sort of sliding him in to that matchup after seeing what Joe Burrow did last week. I'm a little hesitant on Matthew Stafford. 1, because he's not playing his greatest. 2, Rams are very clearly okay with handing the ball to Sony Michelle right now. So I would press pause on him a little bit. Are you guys of that same opinion on Stafford right now? Or do you think he will just go out there and torch this Ravens secondary?
Is there rumblings that Cam Akers is going to be back?
Yeah, like he's activated. He just didn't play last week, but he was activated. So I think he'll get some snaps this week.
That's what I'm wondering. If Cam Akers plays, I would imagine they're going to try to give him, as much as he can handle. If he succeeds in that, why go away from it? I mean, we've talked about this so many times on the show, is that the Rams have like a lot going on offense. They have so many running backs. They had Odell Beckham that adds to a ton of receivers. Tyler Higbee's basically a receiver. Like the Rams have so much to do, so it does make sense that Matthew Stafford should have a good game against the Ravens. But like I said, the only thing that worries me is getting Cam Akers involved, keeping Sony Michelle involved, and Sean McVay trying to get his guys back into the groove of things before playoffs. So I think I'm more inclined to say that Matt Stafford is good where you ranked him, Zach. I don't think I like him any higher. I don't think I like him any lower.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't looked good at all. I mean, the Vikings made him turn the ball over multiple times, which shouldn't be happening. The Baltimore defense is bad. The only question is, like, which Matthew Stafford are we going to see? Are we going to see the one that he should be, or the one that he has been the last couple weeks? Baltimore, they just seem like one of those teams that no matter how bad they are, they can get some turnovers. If Lamar is back, I think they have a little more juice. It's in Baltimore. So I'd maybe put him maybe at 8 or 9, just because I think Baltimore can get 1 or 2, turnovers. But it's such a tough call with how everything has looked. It shouldn't be tough, but Matthew Stafford has certainly made it one.
And like I said before, just to add on to that, Baltimore has to win this game. So I imagine they're going to go balls to the wall on defense and try to do as much as they can, send blitzes, send different stunts, different coverages, a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, they're going to try. And even with, Matthew Stafford, I thought played really well last week. He just had a couple bad plays, and usually defenses don't make those plays. Like, you could say the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes gives defenses 5-6 plays every single game, and statistically or historically, they just don't make them for whatever reason. Right now, the ball is bouncing wrong for Matthew Stafford more often than not. He is a little bit off right now, but I understand why people are thinking this is a get-right game for him. I'm just kind of hedging my bet, I guess, a little bit. Only other quarterback I want to bring up is Trey Lance. He gets to play Houston. I currently have him at 16, which is lower than the consensus. Consensus has him at 13. I love Trey Lance a lot. I think he is the best talent of the rookie quarterbacks. Kyle Shanahan doesn't agree with me, so I'm a little bit hesitant there. Jimmy Garoppolo could play. I don't know why they would do that. I'm assuming this is gamesmanship because they're so completely different. They're forcing Houston because they're afraid of Houston, but they're forcing Houston to prepare for two very different styles of offense. I would assume the 49ers are going to come out, pound the rock early, often. Trey Lance will probably get like 8 carries or so. If he scores a rushing touchdown, he's probably going to end up being a top 12 guy. If he doesn't, he's going to be right where he is right now, where I rank him. I hope, again, it's one of those players, I hope you don't need to rely on him for any meaningful fantasy playoff game this week. But if you had Jimmy G, if you had, I don't know, if you have Lamar Jackson, if you have all that, like I would pick him up and see what happens, I guess, because I think you could do worse. Do you agree, disagree on him?
I am in one championship, and I'm starting Trey Lance as of this second over Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
My thoughts are that, like you said, San Francisco is going to pound the rock, right? That's what they've been doing for the last, feels like, 2 decades. They have different running backs who are going to pound it in. I'm relying on Trey Lance to get two rushing touchdowns here. I know that's a lot to rely on in the championship, but I think I like that more than Lamar Jackson throwing 2 touchdowns. So run the ball up the middle, run the ball power left, power right, stretch, whatever. That only benefits Trey Lance is getting those linebackers' eyes off them once he comes down to the goal line. Houston's not a great defense. They're not a great football team. I don't see why San Francisco doesn't play Trey Lance. And if nothing's open, just like every single rookie quarterback, Trey Lance is going to use what he does best, and that's running the ball. And I don't think the Texans are good enough to keep up with it. I like Trey Lance a lot more for DFS, but in my situation, I'm starting him for a championship this week right now.
He's just such a weird player. Like, we haven't seen him recently at all either.
Right.
And they're playing Houston, so that's also such a cluster of a game because Houston shouldn't stay with San Francisco. So as long as the defense can tread water for a half, they should be running the whole second half. So it is tough. But to your point, I mean, as odd as it sounds, I would trust Trey Lance to score on the ground more than I would trust Lamar to score at all. Just because that Rams defense, which I don't love, but also not completely healthy. So it'll be interesting to see what's schemed up, but it could really be a volatile game for Trey Lance for sure.
I think that's an interesting thing to say that you trust one more than the other for touchdowns, and I agree with you. I do think they both have the exact same ceiling, which is also an interesting conversation because Lamar Jackson is known for being, a massive boom when everything's clicking, and I think Trey Lance is the same type of talent, not as flashy, but son of a bitch is massive. He's very big.
Yeah, I think they play similar ways of football from the little that I've watched of Trey Lance.
Yes, I agree. Any other quarterback you want to talk about?
That was my one who I was going to bring up when I said there's a risk that may be high reward.
Yeah, I agree. Running backs here, I have Jonathan Taylor 1 versus Vegas. Dalvin Cook 2 at Green Bay. He was just cleared from COVID today, I believe. Nick Chubb 3 at the Steelers. Austin Eckler 4 versus the Broncos. Joe Mixon 5 versus the Chiefs. Luke, what do you think of those 5 running backs?
Jonathan Taylor may be the highest scoring player this week outside of quarterbacks, especially if Carson Wentz doesn't play. Because even when Carson Wentz plays, Jonathan Taylor gets 30 rushes. I would imagine Jonathan Taylor touches the ball 30 plus times this game. Like, the Colts are still in the playoff spot. They still need to win. Dalvin Cook I like a lot too. I mean, you guys know we've been talking about forever that the Green Bay rush defense isn't great. And that was exploited by Nick Chubb last week. And I don't know. I mean, we've seen it how many times against Dalvin Cook. I don't see why anything changes this week. So, yeah, I agree that it would be top 2 for sure. Vikings are still going for a playoff spot too, so they're going to give the ball to their best player when possible.
Yeah, the only interesting thing would be, I don't think they will do it, but it would be maybe wise to at least try it for possession. Stack the box on the run because Thielen's out. So Osborne, I like him. I think he's a solid receiver. I think that's a completely different dynamic. So I think that would be interesting for the Packers to try out for at least a series. But like Luke said, that's not going to happen, right? Dalvin Cook's probably going to run for 150 or at least 120 and a touchdown. That's pretty much guaranteed. The only question is if they get behind in the third quarter and have to pass more in the fourth, sitting him just short of that 26, 27 point range.
I agree. Do you have something to say, Luke?
I was just gonna say the thing with Kirk Cousins too is I think he's smart enough if they stack the box to audible out and just throw a screen or a dump off to Dalvin Cook, and just take what the defense is giving him.
Should be. We'll see.
Right.
It's Kirk Cousins in prime time. I don't even try to pretend I know what I'm talking about or what to expect when that happens. He's been good recently though in prime time, so maybe he keeps that going. I have Sony Michelle right now at running back 9 at Baltimore. I believe he has the most rushing yards in December out of anybody. Jonathan Taylor has one less game, so that's not really fair. But the point is that Sony Michelle is running the ball a lot. He's running the ball really well. He's looking like the player New England wanted him to be at this point. So I don't know why they would stray away from that. I have Damien Harris at 12 versus Jacksonville. Last week was a perfect showing of what Damien Harris is to the Patriots, and he will continue to be. He's going to score touchdowns. That is a guarantee. That's all he's going to do. Ramondre Stevenson was removed from the COVID list today also, I believe.
Yep.
There was like 70 players, it seems like, removed from the COVID list today. That doesn't scare me. I think they will split snaps between the 20s, and then once it's 20 and in, it's the Damien Harris show. So I really like him. I'm perfectly fine starting him over Ezekiel Elliott, who have at 13. A lot of good players. Antonio Gibson at 20. Saquon Barkley, 24. Cordell Patterson, 28. This is such an important week. Don't just start the guys who got you here. Be a little bit smart. Look at the matchups. Get a fucking win, and then enjoy the offseason. Let's just not be stubborn about who you're starting this week. Damien Harris is very good, and he has a great matchup against Jacksonville.
Speaking of stubborn, a guy I'd like to bring up because I think it brings an interesting dynamic. You have him ranked near the bottom, obviously because of injury. Today, it said he put in a full practice on Wednesday. Deandre Swift, when he plays and before he got hurt, it's very clear he's a RB1. Obviously, he's coming back from that injury. You would assume they limit his snaps with the way Reynolds and Jamal Williams has played. So assuming he's a go, seeing he had a full practice, and against Seattle, a team that gives up a lot on the ground and to running backs, where do you put him? Because I'm sure a lot of people in Dynasty have him in flat RB2 territory as Luke leaves.
Luke's back. I would probably put Deandre Swift. I don't trust Seattle's run defense, but they are playing a little bit better recently. Weird that they play a little bit better once they get rid of their safety, who's the best run stopper of all time. He's in that Damien Harris range for me. The one player who every time I look at him and he's ranked high for me and I want to move him down and I like everybody more than him, but he's ranked number 11 for me is Naji Harris. I like DeAndre Swift more than him, but I like Damien Harris more than DeAndre Swift. So I think I need to change my rankings a little bit there. He's in that 10 through 16 block for me, I would say.
So what you're saying is don't overthink it. Put him at a flex if you can.
The biggest thing with DeAndre Swift, which sucks, is the touchdown upside's low because the Lions haven't been good. But I think they can move the ball in Seattle, and the Lions offense clearly has been better recently. Jared Goff should be back. Josh Reynolds on the COVID list. Hopefully he comes back. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been balling. Dan Campbell's catching a stride as a play caller, which is, I'm not even exaggerating, which is fun to say. Like he's doing well. I'm proud of him. Good for him. Like the mayor of Kutztown, Craig Reynolds, is getting 5 yards a pop. Like let him go down the field and then reward DeAndre Swift for his hard work. Let's get him a touchdown. I think he finds the end zone this week. I think he has a good chance to, assuming he's a full go. So, yeah, I think flex for sure, start him. I'm comfortable going RB2. RB1 is borderline. But again, man, I don't think they limit him that much. I think he's full go or he's not playing. It makes no sense to if there's any fraction of a risk of re-injury or something, I can't imagine they would put him out there in this type of game. Unless he has a lot of grit and he wants to prove it. That could also be a possibility. This is a strategy I like to use for running backs this year especially. Because obviously a lot of people on COVID list, a lot of injuries. If there's running backs on my team that I think are going to be very bad this week and I'm in a meaningful game, I would drop them immediately. Obviously, you're taking a little bit of a risk because you may be shorthanded because of COVID, but hopefully you have enough players. Like, if your opponent's bad enough where they have to pick them up and start them against you, I like that. And, like, players like Chuba Hubbard, I think is absolutely horrendous this week. Go for it. Tevin Coleman maybe is in that area. Myles Gaskin. That would blow if Myles Gaskin beats you in fantasy. But it's a risk I'm willing to take, I think. Players like that. I think some of these, like if you look at my rankings, flurrysports.org, like 42 down, I'm willing to drop any of those players. And like right now in one of my championship leagues, I have 5 defenses just because I think my opponent's defense isn't very good. And I'm dropping all my players. I want to stack them. Then I'll just drop who I need to drop before game day and pick up a kicker. We're good to go. So I think that's a strategy some people should look at. Manage risk a little bit when you do it, but I think it's an effective one. Any other running back you specifically want to talk about?
I would imagine Denver's probably going to do their 50-50 split again.
Yeah, I think they're leaning a little bit more towards Javonte Williams now, but especially like in the red zone, I think it's for sure a 50-50 split, if not like 55-45 Melvin Gordon. So, yeah, I don't think either have a massive ceiling, but it is against the Chargers, so I think they're both in play.
Yeah, I sent this to you guys too, but I guess I'll ask it anyways again for everyone else. Starting 3 players out of these: Javonte Williams, Darrell Williams, Elijah Moore, Damien Harris, Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, for me it would be Darren Williams.
Right?
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell. Yep. For me it would be Damien Harris and Darrell Williams, but I didn't see practice reports from 49ers today. If Elijah Mitchell is a full go, I think he's really fucking good at football. Like, I would be willing to start him over Darrell Williams, I think.
Yeah, he was
That would be close. Yeah, I think he's going to be good, man. I don't know. I do too. It's risky, though.
I guess it's a good problem to have for me.
It is, yeah. So, yeah, talking Elijah Mitchell, I have him ranked 17th right now, which is 14 spots higher than the consensus. I'm sure if he's real active, people will come up on him, but I will be higher than everybody, I assume, just because I like him that much. I am 11 spots higher in Ramondre Stevenson at 37. I'm 8 higher in James Conner at 26. And I'm 5 higher on Derek Gore at 40. I think Derek Gore's in play. Again, I wouldn't start him anything above a flex. They really like Darrell Williams. That's one. Maybe I need to watch more of him. I'm not impressed by Darrell Williams, but Andy Reid loves him so much. He is the Jeff Wilson Jr. to Shanahan. I feel like they're the exact same player in a different uniform. I just don't get it. In terms of players I like less, I have Josh Jacobs at 18, which is 4 spots lower. They play the Colts. So, I mean, I don't trust any running back against the Colts. I have Michael Carter at 30, which is 4 lower. And I have Cordero Patterson at 28, which is 5 lower. I was lower on Cordell Patterson last week too, and it scared me because he was playing the Lions. This week he plays Buffalo. I it feels like the Falcons are saving him for next year. I don't know. I feel like they're like, we got our guy. We know what we're doing now. Yeah, I wouldn't start him above a flex, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is an instance where you had brought up at the beginning of the show, like, don't start guys just because they got you here. Take guys that are, going to have a good game. And I think Cordell Patterson totally fits into that innuendo there.
Yeah, he hasn't been good. It's disappointing. But yeah, don't blindly start him. Don't make him be one of the people you drop just because he has the potential to go off against the Buffalo defense that isn't great. But yeah.
Like if Jordan Love won 3 playoff games and then Aaron Rodgers back healthy for the Super Bowl, why play Jordan Love?
Jordan Love's got momentum.
That's a totally one-to-one analogy.
You said you like to ride the hot hand. Jordan Love just won 3 games in a row.
Trevor, are you saying that Mike Davis is a start this week?
Why not? Mike Davis, give him a bone. Who cares? Who cares about him?
What a disappointing situation this year. Mike Davis was supposed to be not even good, like just acceptable, and he couldn't even do that. It's pathetic. Okay, wide receivers right now, Cooper Kupp, number 1 at Baltimore, Devontae Adams 2 versus the Vikings, Tyreek Hill 3 at the Bengals, Deebo Samuel 4 versus the Texans, and Justin Jefferson 5 at the Packers. Trevor, what do you think of those 5 wide receivers?
How different the NFL landscape would be if Justin Jefferson fell to the Packers. Am I right? Like, that would have been absolutely insane. But, I mean, how are you going to argue with this, right? Kupp and Adams, they have to be there all the time. Deebo Samuel, with how he's played this year, that's a lock. And then you have Hill and Justin Jefferson. Obviously, we've seen the Packers' defense. They're extremely overrated. Tyreek Hill, big play threat against Cincinnati that gives up a lot of big plays. It's pretty stacked. There are a lot of good matchups. Me personally looking at A.J. Brown 2 at 6. He'll probably have a big game. Antonio Brown at 9. He'll probably have a big game. But in terms of top 5, I think that's about as safe as you can get.
Cooper Kupp has like so many more catches than everyone in the NFL. It's wild. And then, of course, you're starting Devontae. It'll be if he scores, it'll be 12th Sunday night game in a row. He has a touchdown. So talking about riding the hot hand, there's your hot hand. I'm just worried about Deebo Samuel. They use him for the running and different formations and stuff like that. I almost wonder if that might change if Trey Lance is in, just to make the offense as simple as it can be for Trey Lance. I like Brandon Ayuk in this game a little bit, just to get nice, safe, easy passes, unless Deebo Samuel, takes those up. But it's hard for me to say that because Deebo Samuel's had such a great year. That's just my only worry with him.
What I like about Deebo Samuel, other than the matchup, is the 49ers have made it a point to get the ball in his hands no matter what. And when Jimmy Garoppolo was struggling to pass the football, they said, okay, fuck you, Jimmy, just hand it to him and then let him do whatever he needs to do. Or like do an end around. Like just get the ball in his hands, find Kittle, run behind him. Like that's all they're doing. So like I think the touches are safe. And if the touches are safe, then the matchup will make him relevant. That's where I'm at least.
Imagine how good the 49ers would be if they had a somewhat competent quarterback.
We'll find out next year if Aaron Rodgers goes there, I guess.
All right.
That could be fun. A.J. Brown, I picked him up 2 weeks ago. I'm so happy. And I didn't start him last week, and I almost lost. And then I was not happy. So I'm excited to start him this week. And there's no player on the entire slate that scares me more than him. He struggles in spots where he should be good. And after last week, man, it feels like a 2-catch, 20-yard game from A.J. Brown with like 5 drops. He should be good. I'm really like, I know Miami's corners are good, but they still don't scare me that much. I can't rank them any lower than that. But do you guys? I don't know. Like, what's your thoughts on AJ Brown? He just really scares me. It's just a gut thing.
In your past experience with him saying that, like this should be, AJ Brown has a good matchup. He should produce. He doesn't. That was with Derrick Henry. I don't know, him being out and Julio Jones being out. Like AJ Brown, we've been talking about for weeks now. Like Tennessee has nobody to give the ball to. They finally have someone to give the ball to. And I think AJ Brown's, we talk about unguardable receivers. I don't want to say AJ Brown's unguardable, but I think he will see targets just for how big he is. Like Tannehill's got to throw it to him sometime. Although they did go that stretch couple game, never mind. But he's big enough where he Tannehill should always be looking to him first read.
Yeah,
he will, but unfortunately, Tannehill has to get the ball to him, and AJ Brown has to make the catch, which that scares me. I could see the Dolphins maybe just kind of keying in on AJ Brown. Like, does anything else scare us about the Titans? Like, I like Hilliard. I like some of their running backs, but I don't think they're good enough to beat you, especially a team with Miami's defense. So I don't know. I feel like this could be that kind of game, and they have to turn to Westbrook Kina in like the third or the fourth quarter if AJ Brown isn't doing anything. I mean, history repeats itself, and that's what AJ Brown is telling me.
this conversation makes me sad. You both are like, they have nothing else. No one else scares you. They may have to go to Westbrook Akeen. Julio Jones is healthy. Like,
yeah, washed.
Hey, also shout out
know.
to Jake Senholtz, who, by the way, Zach, you and Jake still have to pick a forfeit. When I told him he would not be a top 30 wide receiver, I thought that was pretty bold, and it was not at all bold. Julio Jones is garbage as hell.
Washed.
I need to watch more Titans game. I refuse to believe it.
He's like Russell Wilson, but worse.
Fair. I would still pick him in a race against DK Metcalf, though, who, by the way, I have at 30, and I'm going to take a guess I'm lower. Oh, yeah, I'm 12 spots lower than the consensus on him. Once I'm wrong, then I'll rank him higher. The dude sucks at football. I will take Julio Jones now over DK Metcalf at any point in his career, including 3 years from now when he learns how to run a slant. Like, it doesn't matter. The dude is terrible at football. He scored last week, had people text me, oh, look at DK now, and then he went on to do nothing else the rest of the football game. He plays Detroit. Can't wait for for Dan Campbell to make him cry. It's gonna be fantastic.
I will forever be grateful to DK Metcalf for keeping me alive in multiple leagues.
He's kept you alive?
I played Luke, and I beat him by 22, and I was sweating after he caught that first one. They did jack shit the rest of the game.
He shouldn't be that bad, though, man. I don't get it.
I think I like DK Metcalf here. I think I do.
Luke, I think it's time for you to go again.
I mean,
computer troubles.
I think I like him. Something. Detroit's down their top 3 corners. I understand that DK Metcalf's no good at football.
Next man up.
Russell Wilson, all he does is just throw go routes. Like, one of these has to hit soon. I don't know. To me, this feels like a 10-catch, 150-yard, 2-touchdown game for DK Metcalf against a Lion that everything bad happens to the Lions.
He's not even going to be thrown at 10 times. There's no way. It's good. Right. If anything, I feel like it's.
I have my guarantee now.
DK Metcalf hasn't had a 10-catch practice at the Jugs machine all year long. The dude blows.
Luke, if I may,
I have my guarantee too. I can't wait.
Luke, with no due respect, this is why your predictions are 1-0 and 16, my guy.
They haven't taken DK Metcalf all year.
He's good.
About half of those, my players got hurt in the middle of the game. So throw out half of those.
That's true. 1-0 and 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Feels like every time, man. Every year. I don't know. Okay. Other player I dislike, no surprise, Jamar Chase. I have him at 17. Wow, he did good last week. Joe Burrow had to throw for 500 yards to do it. I'm 5 spots lower than him. Consensus has him at 12. I like T. Higgins more. He's clearly the better player. I have him at 13. And that looks to be right on with the consensus. So that's good.
Was that not the saddest thing ever? Like, let's say that the 5th touchdown stood by Joe Burrow, right? Let's live in fantasy land. He threw 5 touchdowns and not one was to Chase or Uzama, which granted, Uzama's not that good, but like he's a red zone threat. They all went to Boyd and Higgins. I think that tells you all you really need to know about Jamar Chase.
Higgins is a stud receiver too. He's quickly growing, getting up there in my weekly receiver rankings.
He's very
I would just him and Burrow alone beat some teams in our half PPR fantasy league. So
for sure.
That tells you all you need to know.
Tyler Boyd's good too, even though he seems to be like the 4th guy there. Other receivers.
They should have kept John Ross in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, he had 2 like good weeks with the Giants this year, which is the best 2 weeks of his career. Mm-hmm. And boy, is he fast. Why couldn't they use him like Tyreek Hill when everyone else is pretending like they have a Tyreek Hill?
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
Hand them the football. Jesus Christ. Bengals are terrible at everything. Everything. Like management, ownership, coaching.
That's not true.
They don't have a scouting department. Their assistant coaches are like college coaches. They actually scout. It's ridiculous.
It's like when you play franchise on Madden and you just auto scout for the players coming up.
Insane, man. I don't get it. Jalen Guyton. I already said Mike Williams was ruled out for no reason. Like, he's on the COVID list, but he had COVID last week. So, I mean, T's and P's to him. Maybe it's really, really bad. And that must be what it is. So hopefully he's going to be fine. Jalen Guyton, next man up. I have him at wide receiver 41, which is 29 spots higher than the consensus. Let's see what he did last week. I don't love his matchup against Denver. I think Denver's legit. I think they have the best defensive coach in the entire NFL. He's caught a touchdown 3 straight weeks. Obviously, his stats outside of that weren't that great last week. But if they key on Keenan Allen, which I would assume they would do, Guyton's probably the next guy there. Palmer's the talented rookie, I believe. He's in play. This is more DFS than anything else. But if you're super desperate, I think you can take a stab at one of those guys.
Yeah, and early in the year when everyone was healthy, Donald Parham was catching touchdowns. Obviously, he's out. Feels like Guyton's kind of filled that role now. Like, even with Mike Williams in, Guyton was catching touchdowns. I think if you need maybe your 16-team league, 3 receivers, something like that, and you need at least, if you're chasing a touchdown, I don't think you can get much worse than Guyton this week for a receiver.
Also, for his overall rankings, where you said he was, Zach, like in PPR leagues or half PPR leagues, he needs what, like 3 catches for 40 yards to hit that?
Right.
Like,
yeah,
and
easy.
probably overshoot it too. I mean, that's easy money.
Yeah, consensus has him at 70, which that would be behind Antoine Wesley, Nick Westbrook-Akeen, Zay Jones, you name it. Like it. But above Julio Jones. So
yeah.
Damn it.
Julio's the wash bitch. Stealing people with his weed. With his weed front. I don't know where I was going with that.
You had
He did steal from people, though.
Any wide receiver you want to talk about other than Julio Jones, please? Or you don't?
DK Metcalf is the top 10 wide receiver in the NFL.
At what?
I don't know.
He's top 10 at being projected to be top 10.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That is fair. Sports Talk loves DK Metcalf. I guess.
It's a DK Metcalf week.
He's like Rashawn Gary, but for the Seahawks.
Hey, Rashawn Gary had a week. He fell on a couple sacks there. He got it. He finally did it. So
Baker
proud.
Mayfield ran into him.
He did.
Which is what you
And
need.
Baker fell. Okay, tight ends here. Travis Kelce coming off of COVID. I have it number 1 at the Bengals. George Kittle number 2 versus the Texans. Mark Andrews 3 versus the Rams. If it turns out Lamar Jackson doesn't play, I will move Mark Andrews up to 1. But that's the reason I have him there. Rob Gronkowski 4 at the Jets. And Dawson Knox 5 at the Falcons. Pretty good matchups for tight ends this week, I feel like. Luke, what do you think of those 5 guys?
I worry about Rob Gronkowski. I feel like he's still dealing with some injury a little bit. Tampa Bay should probably win this game in the first quarter. I think Jets are more vying for a better pick right now. Tampa Bay should just be able to run all over him, in my opinion. I just wonder how much Rob Gronkowski plays, especially with their excess of tight ends. But if he does, you can't sit Gronk. Like Brady and Gronk are like the best quarterback receiver tight end duo you ever want to say. They get probably one of the best chemistries in NFL history. Like Gronkowski's a playmaker. Even this old, he's still a playmaker. If he's out there, you're playing him. I would just play him with caution.
I think I might be the only person in the world that is lower on Andrews this week, especially if Lamar Jackson comes back. If Lamar Jackson's out, obviously I think he has a good week pretty much no matter who he plays. He's pretty much matchup proof. But, man, I just – like if you take him away, what do the Ravens have left, right? Like they have Marquise Brown, but he's not really been anything recently. Granted, a lot of that's without Lamar, but he's had some bad drops too. Rashad Bateman has great hands, but I still need to see more from him. And this is a run-heavy team. Good pressure on the quarterback. So I'm just a little lower on Andrews, but, I mean, that's more of a hunch. Like, if we're being realistic, even though I don't think he's going to be good, I don't see how you can rank him anywhere outside the top 4, if not 5.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, if you had to ask me, if I had to say, like, where is he going to finish with Lamar Jackson, I would say probably between 8 and 14, like he usually does. But if we're talking touchdown upside, I mean, there's nobody who has more than him, I feel like, other than, I guess, Travis Kelce probably. To your point about Rob Gronkowski, I've been saying the entire show that you shouldn't be stubborn. Like, don't just start the people who got you here. I think Gronk's kind of the exception. I think you need to start him. It's the tight end position, and he's going to come on the field in the red zone, and all you're looking for is a touchdown from your tight end anyway. So, yeah, I feel okay about him scoring another touchdown against the Jets, which he's done often in his career.
Right, especially in full-point PPR. I mean, you're getting a touchdown catch. It's probably been close to 8 points, and that's a good week for almost every other tight end out there.
I want to see if he has a 1 catch, 1 touchdown week and see where that ranks. Yeah, no. He actually doesn't have a 1 touchdown week. He only has 2 touchdown weeks. It's either 2 or 0. So, hey, I think he's going to get 2 touchdowns this week. Congratulations to Rob Gronkowski owners, I guess. Other tight ends. I like Gerald Everett. He's been balling for Seattle. They figured out that if they run somebody underneath, they're probably going to be open. He's benefited from that. Dalton Schultz. I think Buffalo should be able to run the ball. Or, never mind, that's Cowboys. I think Cowboys are using him. Dawson Knox, I like. They should be able to move the ball easy against the Falcons, and he's back to the whole, hey, it's the red zone, we're just going to give it to Dawson Knox thing. So I think his upside's high.
Just
think you could do worse than Noah Fant. I still believe Drew Lock has a connection with him. It didn't work last week, but I think this week we'll see it. Yeah, Luke?
Just to speak on Dalton Schultz here for a minute, I had him last week. I needed 21 points out of him. He got hurt at the end of the second quarter with 21 points. Came in and got that 1 reception in the fourth quarter, and that was awesome. Got me to the championship. But I don't know if you guys feel this way, but to me it kind of turns out like he's almost like Dak's guy when Dak's in trouble. Like quarterbacks kind of have their guys, Rodgers, Adams, obviously. But Dalton Schultz, even when everyone's healthy, like Dak Prescott, it feels like he almost always looks to him when on his reads, whether he throws him the ball or not. If you throw him the ball, you get a week like last week, a touchdown and 80 yards on 8 receptions or whatever it was. So I don't think that all those weapons should scare you off of Dalton Schultz, is what I'm saying.
Dalton Schultz walked so that Dan Arnold could run. I love them both. Like, they're both so solid, right? Like, Dalton Schultz, everybody said Blake Jarwin this year. Dalton Schultz is just the guy, right? He's super consistent. He doesn't drop a lot, and he's got a decent touchdown upside.
Yeah, Schultz was lost for a few weeks there, but it goes back to what we said about him last season over and over and over when he was unowned. Like, the Cowboys have really good receiving weapons, but they don't have anybody underneath, and he's the underneath guy. He's the third down guy. He's the, to your point, the security blanket for Dak Prescott, especially when Prescott's playing like ass and needs to get in a rhythm. Just check it down to Dawson Knox. It makes sense. Or not Dawson Knox, motherfucker, Dalton Schultz. There's so many D-named tight ends. It's so stupid. Let's talk about Darren Waller. Darren Waller, I think, is limited maybe right now. Boy, even if he plays this week, I don't think I'm starting him. I want nothing to do with Darren Waller. I would love to drop Darren Waller if I had him on a team right now. Like, let my opponent pick him up.
What if you had him in a dynasty? Would you be, obviously looking for trades for him? Yeah, I think so.
But because he's still, obviously, the name, he's still a mismatch at the position. I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, I think he's significantly worse without John Gruden. So I think in the offseason, he gets healthy. I think his value is going to be at an all-time high. Be like, hey, he's going to get back to what he was. He was, the second projected tight end this year? Mm-hmm. So if I can sell him for, wide receiver 2 value, talk up the whole position scarcity thing, and you have a mismatch at that position and you have an advantage at the tight end position. Like, if I can do that and trade for a really good value, I would love to do it.
I like Zach Ertz too this week. Dallas is going to get to the quarterback. They're going to get to Murray. Ertz is a security blanket. Kirk didn't do anything till late against the Colts. He's more the deep threat option. I don't think Murray has the time, and their chemistry is already very good. They have no weapons. I like Ertz to probably get another solid 6 receptions, 42 yards, and if he gets a touchdown, suddenly he is way up there among the tight ends.
And it's a real thing when you leave a conference and you go back to play, or leave a division, go back to play that division rival. Obviously going back to play Dallas after all those years in Philadelphia. I think he gets up for it. I think the Cardinals are such a bad football team. However, they're going to beat Dallas this week. This is such a Cowboys loss type of week. Playing in Jerry World, Cardinals are on such a skid. Pass rushers won't be able to get to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray finds somebody like Zach Ertz over and over again, finds Christian Kirk, finds those types of players. So yeah, I think he has success. I think this has fantasy lottery type of upside in terms of points this week. I think this is a really interesting matchup that the Cowboys fans should probably be scared about, personally. Yeah, I don't need to talk about the consensus. Any other tight end you want to talk about?
I don't know. I think I like Hunter Henry. I've liked him all year. I know I talked about. I mean, I should say we've talked about those touchdowns on the goal line that came from Cam Newton last year. Those are going to go to Damien Harris. Seems like for the passing, they're going to Hunter Henry. So if you get a 3rd and 6 from the 7-yard line or something like that, I think Hunter Henry's the guy down there.
Yeah, you would assume New England's in position to score quite a bit. So right. Again, I think there's a lot of really good tight end matchups this week. I think it's kind of scary in a way, but I think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns to tight ends this week. Okay, let's give guarantee and get out of here. Luke, would you like to start?
DK Metcalf, 100 yards.
Throw me a
walking on the sidelines, or
throw me a Devontae Adams touchdown on there to spice it up too. I'll take 2.
Okay. I'm going to say Julio Jones has more yards than DK Metcalf. End the year on a high note. Take that.
Hey, can Can we do it where I take DK as more than Julio Jones?
No.
There are no rules here, so you might as well.
Go for it.
But
I'm that
I
confident.
really hope that they both get like 24 yards, so I can put a giant red next to both of yours. I say Mark Andrews not a top 5 tight end. I am a little more optimistic than some that Lamar is going to play. No reason to say that, but I think they throw him out there because even if he's not 100%, I mean their season could virtually very well be over after Sunday if they lose. So I think they need him out there, and as a result, Mark Andrews sucks again. Not his fault, but he's going to suck.
Sorry, Mark Andrews. Okay, this was the Fantasy Football Show. We'll be back in like 10 minutes with Lombardi Sweep to talk about the Packers, talk about Packers COVID issues and all of that bullshit, stupid, damn shit. We'll be back.